The Smashing Machine stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Emily Blunt, Alexander Usyk, and many, many others, and tells the story of MMA and UFC champion Mark Kerr during the years of 1997 to 2000. The Rock completely transforms in this movie, and every second he's on screen, I found myself not feeling like I was able to take my eyes off of him for even a second, because it is just such a departure from The Rock's typical roles that he's taken in the past, and the prosthetic work and the accent change and just the whole demeanor shifting. It's a really exciting thing to see on screen. Towards the end of the movie, they do show images of the actual Mark Kerr during this time that they're portraying on screen, and it's really shocking how similar The Rock looks to Mark Kerr in this movie. They just did a really good job with the prosthetics in this movie. If anything is going to be Oscar nominated for this movie, it's definitely going to be the prosthetics, the makeup, the design, the costuming, just the sets as well. They do a really great job of recreating some of those fights from late '90s, and I would have preferred more scenes with Emily Blunt's character as well as The Rock's character in the movie. I think the most interesting scenes were definitely them fighting and arguing throughout the movie. Those were probably the best scenes, and I would have preferred actually more of those scenes, honestly, because there are a lot of scenes in this movie that just kind of drag. And Benny Safdie is the director of this film, and he is part of the Safdie brothers who directed movies like Good Time and, of course, Uncut Gems from back in 2019, which was definitely one of my favorites. And he does a good job of helming this movie, and you can tell there's a lot of care behind this movie, and there's a lot of thought put into how scenes are constructed and motifs that they weave throughout the narrative. I mean, for example, at one point in the movie, Mark Kerr is dealing with a competitive loss, and while he's, trying to deal with it and cope with it, he does, see someone kind of getting stomped on in a demolition derby, and he's like feeling a lot of sympathy towards that person, which is supposed to like contrast something earlier he said where he couldn't even imagine losing, and now he's of course sympathizing with the loser. Emily Blunt's character hands Mark Kerr a knife, very, in a way you're not supposed to hand someone a knife. And then, when he hands it back to her, he's handing it, by the handle, right? Very telling, I guess, of a relationship, I guess they were trying to go for there. And it actually happens while he's trying to fix a cactus, which is supposed to show like, a hard exterior and a soft interior, which is supposed to mirror, I guess, Mark Kerr's personality. And I think probably the biggest, I think, metaphorical sort of motif that they weave into the narrative is probably the kintsugi bowls, which are supposed to be, all about repairing things while conserving the history of their damage. And it's a bowl that he buys and he has an affection towards, and then later in the movie, it's actually broken, and then it's repaired again. Which just goes to show you, how much repairing there is in this movie and conserving the history of their damage and showing, that things can get stronger even through hardship. And that's definitely a lot of the themes present in this movie. And they do a good job of, having the typical, things that should be in a good movie, but where this movie I think really fails is that scenes just really drag. I mean, there are just so many pointless scenes in this movie of just like them going out to wave at a crowd and it just goes on for like a minute or two and then like just waiting around for, a national anthem to be sung. And that's just one or two examples, but there's so many examples. It's just, there's so many scenes in this movie that just kind of drag. And I think the more compelling scenes were the ones where, you know, Mark Kerr and his wife are arguing. And those are the most compelling scenes with the most stakes involved. And I thought, those were definitely the best handled, except for towards the end. There's one point, Emily Blunt's character does something which seemed to not have as much build up to, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. And I get, this was based off real life, but I think for the movie, I think they could have done a better job at handling that, I think. Well, without getting to spoilers, of course. And yeah, I just would have loved to see more explorations of the relationship rather than the holistic approach they take to this, where they kind of cover the fighting, they kind of cover the abuse, drug abuse, and they kind of cover the marriage life. I think they chose to focus on the wrong things in this movie. But towards the end, they have like this scene of like, you see Mark Kerr, as he is present day. And I think it was supposed to be like a really emotional scene, but I don't think it really hit that hard when it said, his name was Mark Kerr. But it was a nice scene, though. It was nice to see that he was all right and okay at the end there. But yeah, uh, honestly, this movie it's like it's well made, but it's just not that entertaining. And I don't think the average moviegoer would be really all that enticed by it. But I think if you're looking to see The Rock's acting chops, I think this is definitely the movie to check out. It's very entertaining to see that transformation, that performance, and definitely the scenes that are the highlights of the movie are just really the arguments between The Rock and Emily Blunt. And for this movie, I'm going to give it a B minus. I don't think it's the best movie, but I do think it has some good qualities that are worth checking out. And if you like the video, please do like and subscribe.